Adewale stood on the balcony of his father's palace, his eyes tracing the horizon as the sun dipped below the hills. His royal tunic, a vibrant mix of red and gold, shimmered in the dying light, adorned with intricate beadwork and heavy jewelry that signified his status as the crown prince. Yet, despite the splendor that surrounded him, Adewale felt an emptiness deep within his heart. His life, bound by tradition and duty, seemed devoid of the passion he craved. The elders had been pressing him to choose a wife from among the noble families, but none of the women stirred his soul. It was then, on that very evening, that he first heard the haunting melody drifting on the breeze, a sound that would change his life forever. Night after night, the melody grew louder, more insistent, pulling Adewale from his bed and guiding him through the dense tropical forest that bordered the palace grounds. The flora was lush, with palm fronds and banana leaves casting long shadows in the moonlight, creating a mystical atmosphere that seemed to belong to another world. The prince, despite the dangers that lurked in the darkness, felt no fear. The call was like a gentle caress, soothing and inviting. It led him to a secluded part of the forest where a river, clear as crystal, flowed with a quiet grace. There, on the bank, he saw her for the first time, a woman of unparalleled beauty, her skin glowing with an otherworldly light, her hair flowing like a cascade of black silk. She was Osun, the river goddess, and her gaze, when it met his, was filled with a longing that mirrored his own. Osun rose from the water, her form delicate yet powerful, adorned with jewels that seemed to have been crafted from the very essence of the river. She wore a gown that shimmered like the surface of the water, shifting colors with every movement. The air around her was filled with the scent of wet earth and blooming flowers, and her voice, when she spoke, was as soft as the murmur of the river. "You have heard my call, Prince," she said, her eyes never leaving his. Adewale could only nod, entranced by her presence. The words seemed to fade away as they talked, their connection growing with every word. Time lost all meaning, and it was only the approach of dawn that forced them to part. But as Adewale made his way back to the palace, he knew he would return to her, no matter the cost. Days turned into weeks as Adewale and Osun met in secret, their love growing stronger with each passing moment. They shared stories of their words. Adewale spoke of the palace, of the burdens of royalty, while Osun recounted tales of the gods and the ancient mysteries of the river. Their love, though pure, was fraught with danger. The gods forbade such unions, and if discovered, the consequences would be dire. Yet, they could not resist each other, drawn together by a force stronger than anything they had ever known. The riverbank became their sanctuary, a place where they could be themselves, free from the expectations of their respective worlds. But even in their moments of bliss, a shadow loomed over them, a reminder that their love was forbidden, and that their time together was running out. Word of Adewale's frequent absences did not go unnoticed. Among those who harbored suspicions was Prince Adewale, a rival to Adewale's claim to the throne. Adewale was ambitious and cunning, always seeking ways to undermine Adewale. When he learned of the prince's secret excursions, he decided to follow him. One night, under the cover of darkness, Adewale trailed Adewale to the river. Hidden among the trees, he watched as the prince met with Osun. His heart burned with jealousy and anger as he witnessed their affection. Not only was Adewale betraying the trust of the people, but he was also consorting with a deity, a clear violation of both divine and royal law. Adewale knew that this information could ruin Adewale, and he began to plot his downfall, intent on claiming the throne for himself. Adewale approached Adewale with feigned concern, pretending to be a friend who wished only for his well-being. He spoke of the rumors circulating in the palace, of whispers that questioned Adewale's loyalty to his people. Adewale, unaware of Adewale's true intentions, confided in him, admitting his love for Osun and the challenges they faced. Adewale, with a smile that did not reach his eyes, promised to keep his secret safe, but as soon as he left, he made his way to the king. The news of Adewale's forbidden love spread like wildfire through the palace, reaching the ears of the king and the council of elders. Shocked and angered, the king summoned Adewale to answer for his actions. The prince, realizing too late that he had been betrayed, prepared himself for the worst. The king's court was in an uproar as Adewale stood before his father and the council of elders. Accusations flew, and the prince was forced to defend his love for Osun. He spoke of the purity of their bond, of the connection they shared that transcended the boundaries of the mortal and divine worlds. But his words fell on deaf ears. The elders, bound by tradition and the will of the gods, could not accept such a union. They decreed that Adewale must renounce his love for Osun and never see her again, or face exile and the wrath of the gods. Torn between his duty and his heart, Adewale sought counsel from Osun. She, too, was conflicted, knowing that their love could bring destruction upon them both. Yet, neither could imagine a life without the other. The weight of their decision pressed heavily upon them as they faced the ultimate choice, to surrender their love or risk everything to be together. On the night of the full moon, when the veil between worlds was thinnest, Adewale and Osun made their choice. They would not be torn apart by the laws of men or gods. Together, they would face whatever consequences awaited them. As they met by the river one last time, Adewale, now emboldened by his previous success, led a group of warriors to capture Adewale. But as they approached, the river began to rise, its waters churning with a fierce power. Osun, her eyes blazing with divine fury, called upon the spirits of the river to protect them. The warriors were swept away, and Adewale, realizing he had underestimated the goddess's power, fled in terror. Adewale and Osun stood at the center of the storm, their love shielding them from the chaos around them. But even as they triumphed over their enemies, they knew their battle was far from over. With the immediate threats vanquished, Adewale and Osun found themselves standing on the precipice of an even greater challenge. The gods, having witnessed the events at the river, were now stirred to action. Thunder rumbled in the distance as the skies darkened, signaling the approach of the divine council. Osun, ever the protector, urged Adewale to flee, to return to his world and safety, but the prince refused. "I will not leave you, Osun," he declared, his voice steady with resolve. "If we are to face the wrath of the gods, then we will do so together." Osun's heart swelled with love and fear in equal measure. She knew the gods could be merciless, but she also knew that the strength of their love might be their only hope. As the skies opened and the gods descended, Adewale and Osun prepared to plead their case, hoping that their love could sway even the most ancient of powers. The divine council appeared in a blinding flash of light, their forms towering and majestic, each god representing an aspect of nature and the cosmos. At the center stood Olodumare, the supreme deity, his presence overwhelming. The gods were displeased, not just because a mortal and a deity had defied the natural order, but because such defiance threatened to upend the delicate balance between the worlds. Adewale and Osun knelt before them, humbled but unbroken. With a voice that resonated through the very earth, Olodumare asked, "Why have you dared to cross the boundaries set by the gods?" Adewale, his heart pounding, spoke of the love they shared, a love that had blossomed despite the laws that sought to keep them apart. He spoke of the pain of separation, of the joy they found in each other's company, and of their willingness to face any consequence for the chance to be together. Osun, her voice soft but firm, echoed his sentiments, pleading for the gods to understand that their love was not a threat, but a testament to the power of the divine in all things. The gods, moved by the sincerity of Adewale and Osun's words, were not without compassion. But the laws of the universe could not be easily undone. Olodumare offered them a choice: they could renounce their love, returning to their separate worlds, or they could choose to be together, but at a great cost. If they chose the latter, Adewale would have to give up his claim to the throne and his life as a mortal, joining Osun in the divine realm as a lesser deity. Together, they would be bound to the river, forever protecting its waters and guiding those who sought its wisdom. The choice was theirs, but they would have to decide quickly, for the balance of the world hung in the balance. Adewale and Osun exchanged a long, sorrowful look, knowing that whatever they chose, their lives would be irrevocably changed. After a moment of silent communication, they made their decision. Adewale, with a heavy heart, chose to stay with Osun, to become one with the divine and forsake his mortal life. He knew that by doing so, he would never again walk the earth as a man, never again see his family or his people. But he also knew that a life without Osun was no life at all. The gods, satisfied with their decision, began the transformation. Adewale's body glowed with a golden light as the essence of the river flowed into him, merging his spirit with that of the waters. His royal attire was replaced by garments of shimmering silver and blue, symbols of his new divine status. Osun watched with tears in her eyes as the man she loved became something more, something eternal. When the transformation was complete, Adewale and Osun stood side by side, no longer prince and goddess, but equals in the eyes of the gods. The divine council, their duty done, faded back into the heavens, leaving the newly anointed river guardians to their eternal vigil. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, Adewale and Osun stood at the edge of the river, their hands intertwined. The water, once a mere boundary between their worlds, was now a part of them, its currents flowing through their very beings. They could feel the life force of the river, the pulse of nature itself, and with it came a sense of peace and fulfillment that neither had ever known. Though their love had come at a great cost, they had gained something far greater in return, the promise of eternity together. As guardians of the river, they would watch over the land, guiding those who sought their wisdom and protecting the delicate balance of nature. And in the quiet moments, when the world was still, they would steal away to their secret place by the water's edge, where they could be alone, their love as strong and pure as the day they first met. News of Adewale's disappearance spread quickly through the kingdom. The people mourned the loss of their beloved prince, but the elders, having been visited by a vision from the gods, knew the truth. They understood that Adewale had not abandoned them, but had instead made the ultimate sacrifice for love. The kingdom, inspired by the story of the prince and the river goddess, began to honor the river with renewed reverence. They built shrines along its banks, offering prayers and gifts to the new guardians, knowing that Adewale and Osun were watching over them. The story of their love became legend, passed down through generations, a tale of sacrifice, devotion, and the unbreakable bond between the mortal and divine. And so, the legacy of the prince lived on, not just in the hearts of his people, but in the very waters of the river that flowed through the land. Over time, the river became known as a place of healing and wisdom. Those who were lost, seeking answers or solace, would come to its banks, and the waters, guided by Adewale and Osun, would offer them comfort. The river's blessing was said to be a gift from the gods, a reminder of the power of love to transcend all barriers. Adewale and Osun, though bound to the river, found joy in their new purpose. They watched over the people, guiding them in subtle ways, and in doing so, found fulfillment in their eternal life. Their love, no longer secret, was celebrated by all who knew their story, a beacon of hope and inspiration. And in the quiet moments, when the moon was full and the river was still, they would whisper to each other of the life they had left behind, and the life they had chosen together, content in the knowledge that their love would endure forever.